Okay, contestant number 1 is Jonathan Cole. Jonathan?
Judges, do you mind if I take a quick second to set up? If that's okay?
Okay.
Thank you. The other day, I was cooking dinner for my mom. I was making my specialty, DiGiorno pizza, a delicacy in the Cole household. Everything was going great until I set the oven to 500 degrees instead of 400. I didn't even know ovens go that high. I didn't even know numbers go that high. Good news is, we like our pizza crispy. Bad news is, I burned my house down. You win some, you lose some. But the firefighters were super nice though. I heard them say, "Not this himbo again." I looked at them and I thanked them because himbo sounds like limbo, which is my favorite game at parties. But then they handed me an article from Vice of June 22nd, 2020, which describes himbos as attractive but unintelligent men and the harmless, dumb hotties of our dreams. Nice. But also, ouch. Himbo is a male version of the word bimbo. And just like women are reclaiming their hyper-feminine bimbo aesthetic, men are leaning into this face-cute, head-empty energy. But himbos aren't just eye candy. The article goes on to note that himbos redefine masculinity by showing us it is okay for men to be nice, respectful, and wholesome, given that most men have been kind of trash for centuries. This rebrand is long overdue. So let's take a look at what himbos are, their impact on the world, and implications. Wait a second, was that article about me? Nah. Himbos have been around for centuries. Some say I walked off frame again. Let's start by taking a look at the background of the word himbo. First, the history of himbology. According to Edom Online of August 27th, 2022, the word himbo stemmed from the word bimbo, which stemmed from the word bambino, the Italian word for a young male child. And in the early 1920s, the term bimbo was used to describe an unintelligent man, not a woman. I know, super confusing how a word can mean one thing, and then another thing, and then that thing again? Well, after being used in a gender-neutral way up until the 40s, the term vanished for decades. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, it was rediscovered in the 1980s, when the rise of political scandals led to the word bimbo being associated with woman. The term was used to reduce women to being unintelligent and obsessed with their looks. But The Garden of March 23rd, 2022 explains how women have been reclaiming their term and finding power in their femininity. Hell yeah, you go girl himbos! This started to open the door for all kinds of hot dummies to have their time to shine. According to GQ on July 1st, 2020, they actually don't know when the word himbo first popped up. Who's the dumb one now? But the term actually blew up in the late 20th century, with my himbo ancestors, Fabio and Sylvester Stallone, paving the way. Jump forward to today, and himbos are being celebrated like the sweet baby angels they are, especially on TikTok, where hashtag himbo has been used 419.5 million times, which statistically speaking is a lot of times. And if you don't identify as a him or a bim, there's space for you too. Thembos are the non-binary version of this term. And herbos are women who don't ascribe to the feminine aesthetic, but put more value on being big and buff, which sounds like my high school bully and my high school crush. Basically, if you want to be a part of the community, there's space for you. Because everybody should be able to be a silly little goose, regardless of their gender. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Stop, smile. I'm sorry, did I say those brain words out loud? Now that we know what himbos are, let's look at some examples and impacts himbos have. Like an avocado, himbos might seem simple on the outside, but are crunchy on the inside. That hard ball in the middle is hard to chew, but honestly, it's so worth it. To understand these nuances, let's take a look at this Venn diagram. These three circles represent the three facets of a himbo. The first one being respectful to women, the second one being a little dumb, and the third being a hunk. Oh, and the fourth one is just here because it's cute. If you're respectful and a little dumb, you're a golden retriever. And if you're a hunky dum-dum, you're a frat boy. This should be avoided at all costs. And if you're a respectful hunk, then congratulations. You're just a decent man. But the trifecta of all three of these gives you a himbo. And we could see examples of this throughout pop culture. Joey from Friends, Krunk from Emperor's New Groove, Mr. Peanut Butter from BoJack Horseman, George from George of the Jungle are all himbos that have previously paved the way for future generations. But why does any of this matter? No, seriously, can someone tell me? Okay, well, the closest I got was an article from Vogue Man of October 7th, 2022, that said the charm behind himbos is that they're secure enough in their own masculinity to just be kind. They're not nice to get a promotion or to get women to sleep with them. They're nice just because it's the right thing to do. Revolutionary. In her 1995 book, Beyond the Double Bind, communications professor, Kathleen Hall Jamieson uses bimbo and himbo as examples of linguistic reversal, which creates a range of criticism applicable to men that mirrors that for women. To put that in golden retriever terms, this just means that when men get labeled like women do, for good or bad, the playing field is more equal. Science! Now that we know what himbos are, you will see them everywhere. They can be your dads, your boyfriends, even the President of the United States, Joe Biden. There might even be one in this room right now. Let's end this speech by exploring the negative and positive implications of the himbo. First, are we celebrating men just for being good people? Is the bar on the floor? And if the bar's on the floor, how are we going to play limbo? I mean, it would be impossible to win. Unfortunately, even if our expectations of men are understandably low, we can still find a way to ruin it. GQ of July 1st, 2020 states that over the last decade, we put the nerdy nice guy on the pedestal until nice guys felt entitled to women's attention because of that label. The article warns that in the wrong hands, there's potential for men to weaponize their incompetence and even engage in gaslighting and manipulation by using the excuses that they're dumb or they don't know any better. Unfortunately, when we celebrate anything, even when it reinforces a dominant power structure, it has the potential to be more toxic than the inside of a glow stick. The green ones are extra spicy. Finally, himbos have a positive impact in society. Anytime gender norms are subverted, it lets us see the world through a different perspective. It's kind of like reading a book upside down, but you'll get less dizzy. Mashable of June 22nd, 2020 found that some claim the concept of himbos to be ableist and that it fetishizes low intelligence. But the article continues that it's not the lack of low intelligence we find appealing, but an innocence and openness about the world that we don't normally see in men, because genuinely caring about stuff is not masculine. Tell that to my geode collection. Salon on August 30th, 2022 reported that men find environmentalism to be feminine and view being anti-environmental as a way of being more masculine. Caring about the world shouldn't be gendered, and himbos might be the ones opening that door. Today, we looked at the history of the himbo, what they look like, and implications. I don't know if I'm a full-on himbo yet. I'm more of a baby himbo, or what I like to call a bimbo. Hey, we came full circle. Being a decent man shouldn't be revolutionary, but it's also nice to see the gender scripts be flipped like a delicious pancake. Anyways, it's been really nice chatting with y'all today. But enough small talk. When should I start my speech?
Great job. Thank you. Speaker number 2. Hewitt, last name Hewitt. Are you next? Are you here?
Yes. Can you hear and see me okay?
I can. Can everyone else? Yes.
Yep, all good.
Yes.
Okay. You ready to go?
Oh, somebody has something to say? Oh, maybe they didn't mean that they had something to say. They were just trying to say they're ready. Okay, I think everyone's ready.
Okay, perfect. Who wants to play a game? You? Okay. Okay. I will be a badass warrior queen, and you can be a unicorn. Okay, so let's start with checkers. It's not making use of all this great armor I'm wearing. And your hooves might be a bit clunky, moving those pieces around. But there's not much else going on here in the metaverse, and I have got to make these VR goggles pay off before my dad questions a rather large purchase on my emergency credit card. Many business publications proclaim that 2021 was the year of the metaverse. But according to Inc. magazine, the hype around the metaverse has amounted to little more than a buzzword and a place mostly reserved for gaming. I can play checkers without spending $400. No, I don't know where else you'll get the chance to live out your unicorn cosplay fantasies. But as our judges, macking on other unicorns, I think the rest of us should take a moment to consider some of the realities of living in virtual reality. The metaverse is a real cash cow, and we're all getting milked. So let's first look at the origin of the metaverse. Next, its crappy prototypes. And finally, pose the question, why the hell are we doing this? I like to think I am somewhat tech savvy, so I was curious about the metaverse concept. Purchasing a headset was easy enough, though my dad should be getting that credit card statement right about now. Setting it up, no problem, and I have to admit, it was a fun experience for the first day or two. But you know what's not fun? Prostituting your personal information to companies like Facebook. You know, Facebook has certainly done some pretty naughty things in the past, like selling your data to questionable third parties or publishing content that helped elect a reality TV star over what could have been the first female US president. You know, little things like that. Yeah, ever since Facebook announced it would rename itself to Meta, with the ambition to transfer all of its activity to the metaverse within the next 10 years, I have become suspicious. But don't worry, if you hate Facebook, you'll love Meta. You get the same misinformation, cyberbullying, and pop-up ads you love from Facebook. But it is now featured in 3D. Mark believes in the metaverse so much that he famously renamed his entire company, worth $500 billion, by the way, from Facebook to Meta, and then spent another $18 billion creating his vision of the metaverse. Large companies are making serious sociological shifts that impact us all. They decided to move us all into the metaverse like they're moving their grandma to a nursing home. Sorry, Grandma, you have to live in the computer now. Now that we understand the origin of the metaverse, we can look at the effects that have spilled over to us in the form of crappy prototypes. God, this is incredible. Meta has done humanity a service by creating a utopia that we were never able to create ourselves. In fact, you can even live there by purchasing virtual real estate. Now, you don't actually own any real land or real buildings, but real people are being really stupid, putting down quite real money to pretend to live there. Really, according to a CNBC report from November 2022, sales of virtual land exceeded $500 billion last year. While billionaire Mark Cuban says that buying digital land is, quote, the dumbest shit ever, other thoughtful celebrities like Snoop Dogg and Paris Hilton are totally into it. Because clearly, money can buy you anything. And it can buy you nothing. Regardless, everyone wants to live next door to Snoop Dogg's mansion in the metaverse, which is currently selling for $450,000. All that money. And you couldn't even get a second-hand high. You know, speaking of stupid, I have an uncle that collects NFTs. But with NFTs, you're not buying a picture, okay? You're buying a receipt that says you own the picture, but it's not about the picture. If you wanted a picture, you'd either buy a good picture or pay someone to make a picture of exactly what you want. No. You're buying proof that you own something that nobody wants. If this doesn't make sense or seem like any logical person would be happy about this exchange, then unfortunately, you've understood it perfectly. You know, I could be your NFT girlfriend. You can't ever touch me or interact with me in real life, but if you pay me enough money, sure, you can go around telling people I'm yours. I think we can all agree that this is pretty ridiculous, so why are we doing it? The push to create the metaverse seems entirely built on a teenage boy's reading of Snow Crash, focused entirely on the future of exciting technology while just completely missing the book's satirical message of capitalism. People are drawn to the metaverse because it seems exclusive and elite, but there is serious concern that we should all give pause to. What happens to those in other countries who cannot afford this technology or even access to the internet? Are we facilitating an even larger technological divide by preserving those to stay on top? This prompts one solution. Stop it. If you're feeling FOMO, flip it to JOMO, the joy of missing out. You're not crazy and you're not missing out on anything meaningful. Watching people spend $70 million on a JPEG should make you question the reality of living in virtual nonsense. But even if the metaverse does provide some magical experience, you know, one day I do believe they'll come out with a beyond immersive world and they'll make it free for everyone and get us all hooked. But then they'll change it. Remember when Instagram didn't have as many ads? Remember when the TikTok algorithm wasn't so addictive and wasn't diagnosing me with autism? Remember when YouTube was just a little bit less moderated? They got us all hooked and then they changed it. Now, if it was just an app, I could delete the app. I could move over to a new app. I mean, there are new apps being created every day. But if the metaverse becomes what the tech industry truly envisions, then this won't be just like any other app. This will become our reality. And now you're thinking, oh, I would never fall for this. I would never fall for this virtual bullshit. And that's probably true. I don't think I could ever give up the reality I was born in. But you see, this isn't going to affect people like you and me as much. People who have lived significant portions of their lives in the real world. This is going to affect our children and our grandchildren and generations to come. I mean, you thought iPad babies were bad. Oh, CoComelon was just the appetizer. VR babies? VR babies will be a whole different breed. You know, the metaverse seems appealing on at least some levels, but how glamorous is the image I shared with you all today? By first looking at the origin of the metaverse, next, its crappy prototypes, and finally, posing the question, why the hell are we doing this? We have learned that this is, in fact, hell itself. But I want to end on a good note, so let me slip back into my armor, and you, saunter over here, you, charming unicorn. We've got some time for another game of checkers, but this time I can look at you, you can look at me, and we can both acknowledge that the real joy in playing a game is being present with those that you care about. Thank you.
Great speech. Good job. All right. Next up is speaker number 3. Are you ready?
Can you see and hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. My parents are Indians. Oh, shocking, shocking. I know, but having Indian parents is the best. They're super chill. Their names are Jismat and Santosh, but I call them J-Dog and Sarah. And yeah, all this is completely normal and cool and chill and oh shit. I am so sorry. I just can't keep doing this anymore because I just feel that somewhere in Los Angeles, California, my parents' radar is going off right now for calling them by their first names. Of course, my parents aren't cool or chill or Indian. Okay, wait, that last part was actually true, but Indian parents aren't like normal parents. They're really strict, and they're not afraid of CPS. Personally, I've been hit with sandals, cooking utensils, newspaper. The last newspaper I was hit with was the Boston Globe of September 1st, 2022, which found that Indian Americans, just like the other Asian groups, are subjected to the model minority myth, which is a cultural expectation that as a group we are smart, hardworking, handsome, wealthy, and submissive. This causes Indians in America living their lives trying to meet these expectations through any means possible. Basically, cultural norms have made it so that Indian parents only care about grades, making sure you're not having sex, and whether you're more successful than your cousin, rather than their child's mental health. This can be as unassuming as being strict about socializing and academics to worse things like emotional blackmail and neglect. This has to end. So today, I'll be persuading you to abolish my parents. Now, obviously, I am kidding. We'll actually be learning about how we can reform Indian parents so the future generation of South Asians can thrive properly. Today, we will explore what has caused Indian parents to be so cray-cray, the effects and potential solutions, because we're out here fighting for our lives every single fucking day. When I tried to enter for the first time, I told my parents, I might just want to be an actor. And they were super happy because they thought I said doctor. When I told them what I actually meant, they pantomimed hitting me with my black book, and somehow it still hurt, even though there was no contact. How'd they know about dual rules? The fuck? Like dual, there are two causes to this problem: our own cultural baggage and the model minority. First, the pressure to fit into the American dream leaves many Indian immigrants struggling to keep up with the Joneses, or in my case, the Patels. The February 2021 issue of the Atlantic states that many Indian immigrants come to the United States with little cash in hand. And when they look around and see that not only do they have to assimilate to fit in, but they're expected to because they're model minority. This puts extra pressure on Indian parents to make sure that their kids are becoming doctors, spelling bee champions, ABS gold medalists, and Vice President of the United States. Kamala Harris becoming VP is the worst thing that could happen to me. It's like, how the fuck do you compete with that? Although, knowing my parents, they'd be like, Vice President, that is very disappointing. Next time, be the president. And this toxicity is part of the problem. Indian parents equate success to being a good American, not to be confused with Khloe Kardashian's gene brand. And even though we work really hard to fit in, and in many ways we do, we're still set apart by how we look, how we dress, and our religious beliefs. According to the Boston Globe of September 1st, 2022, this concept of Indian American exceptionalism stems from the safety that comes with fitting in. Which is news to me because it did not help me fit in middle school. Unless you mean fit into the locker rooms, which got pushed in too often, but at the end of the day, the cray-cray stems from something we can all probably relate to, the desire to belong. I used to have a white friend growing up named JC, and I loved going to his house because he had exotic foods like Tatina pizza rolls and Sunny D. But one time, he told his mom, brace yourselves, I had, excuse me, sorry, forensics. I had, oh my God. But when I got home, I got in trouble for me being adjacent to him being disrespectful to his mom. And he got a Capri Sun instead of getting whooped. Make it make sense. Anyways, let's look at the effects that this has on the Indian American youth. The impossible standards our parents set has a negative impact on the kids. For example, according to TrueScope News on August 7, 2022, there's a lack of sex education within the Indian community. If you even mention the word sex, you will summon your entire family and the ghost of your ancestors to give you a 2-hour lecture. Why, you may ask? Because sex distracts you from your education. Your phone is being checked constantly. That you're not DMing any girls. The only person in my DMs is my tutor, asking if I finished my computer science project, and even he leaves me on red. This lack of sex education leads to feelings of shame and maladjusted attitudes regarding sexuality. And by now, if it wasn't super clear, this constant pressure is making the next generation of Indian kids a little cray-cray as well. Want me to prove it to you? Cray-cray. And it's gone to the point where even the way you study is open to criticism. I was listening to some music while working on my chem homework, and my dad busted and screamed, "You think JC has 99 problems? Your test tomorrow has 120. Study harder." Okay, Dad. And some parents even go as far as installing cameras in their kids' room to monitor your studying. It's too much. Thinkerite of October 28, 2022 states that kids who grow up with unrealistic expectation and excessive parental pressure are more prone to experiencing depression, aggression, sleeping disorder, eating disorder, anxiety, low self-esteem, negative self-talk, or what I like to call Tuesday. The sad thing is our parents think that they're helping us, but in reality, they're only making it harder for us to succeed. All right, y'all, I have an unconventional solution to this problem. Every brown kid should be assigned an American parent when they come to the United States. I can so picture it now. Homemade apple pies, family dinner, Olive Garden. My mom saying things like my real mom would never, like, "Honey, homework can wait. Let's have a game night." Or, "You gotta be on that exam. Absolutely amazing display of your intelligence." Or, "Son, I am so proud of you." My mom really said that about me. All right, enough of this pipe dream. Let's discuss some real solutions to this problem. We need to have more outlets and resources for the Indian American youth. Programs like South Asian Mental Health Institute. They have specific and culturally relevant resources for the best gift your parents could ever give you: deep-seated trauma. With me, I have this imaginary handout so you can support this organization or share it with a favorite Indian. Of course, media scaling does not count, so don't go imaginary handout too, right? Okay, all right. But we need to have a solution for the root of the problem: our wild-ass parents. South Asian parents as a resource for families that are stuck between culture and identity. They have articles, personal testimonies, and mental health resources targeted towards Indian parents. So, if you're an ally, you will find an Indian parent. You will steal their phone and type this resource into the search bar. Or you can scan my QR code on this amazing forensics handout. But in all seriousness, parents of color, especially immigrants, don't have the tools or the security like other parents do. It's not their fault, and it's all they know. But that doesn't mean this problem should be swept under the rug, because that's not proper cleaning, and I'm not about to get whooped for that too. So we need to be patient and facilitate their growth, because future generations of South Asians deserve it. Today, I've gone over problems, causes, and solutions to my parents. Basically, we can't change who birthed us, but we can give them the tools which will help them and future generations. So my parents might never take me to that baseball game, but they can go in other ways. And I can't wait to help them through it.
Thank you. Great job. Wonderful speech. All right. Next speaker, number 4. Last name Moore.
Can the judges hear and see me okay?
Yes.
And all the judges ready to begin?
Yes.
Yep, ready when you are.
In my local bookstore, I tend to gravitate towards the cooking section. One day I was browsing around and I picked up one title. Okay. Then one more. Then one more. And I realized I was staring at a bunch of white women. Oh my God. Cookbooks are inherently racist. Yeah, those seemingly innocent recipes may be secretly encoded with the building blocks of white nationalism. Perhaps this is a little over the top, but this is ADS. It's the one event my coach will let me go for broke. Even if the authors of such cookbooks are not promoting a racist agenda, there's legitimate concern. Not allowing for more diverse voices in the cookbook industry might limit who's welcome to the table. To better chow down on my thesis that cookbooks are inherently racist, let's first explore the history of sharing recipes through print. Second, consider how celebrity culture worsened the problem of too many white cooks in the kitchen. And finally, provide solution steps we can all take to set a more multicultural dinner table. The first example of documented recipes dates all the way back to 1700 BC. According to an article from food historian Dana Stives, this early version of meat stew looks not that different than what we would consider pot roast. I'm not sure who may be clamoring for Mesopotamian cuisine, but if we were up in Portland, I bet we could find a food truck for that. It might be the widest city in America, but those hungry bastards will eat anything if you put it in a truck. So I want to be put in a truck. Hey there, sexy backpacker. It wasn't until 1390 AD that we saw the first cookbook written in English. This is a product of the courts of King Richard II. You know, history hasn't been that kind to Richard, thanks in large part to that bastard Shakespeare. But this guy was like a foodie pioneer. He popularized the idea of using napkins to wipe your face instead of the communal tablecloth. Yeah, he beheaded a few people, but dessert was spectacular. Cookbooks in the US are terrific documents of the racial tension that exists in this country. While many of the first publications did come from the Northeast, it was the books that documented Southern cuisine that really proved popular. However, the whole concept of Southern food is largely a polite way to say foods prepared by African Americans. Those white folks weren't so sure about that new civil rights thing, but they sure did enjoy a cornbread recipe. Recipes often went hand in hand with a fictional Black character but I assured you food would be excellent because it was prepared by Mammy. People's love for syrup allowed them to rationalize that Aunt Jemima was not a racist caricature, but only a sweet old black lady that just wanted to make pancakes for you. Then I'm torn. Which syrup situation is worse? Aunt Jemima? Or the fact you have to grab Mrs. Butterworth by her breast? Come on, pour it on thick. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Butterworth. You might think the idea of food cult culture wouldn't fly in 2023, but there's a cookbook on the New York Times bestseller list called Thug Kitchen. It was written by 2 white people. According to the Austin American Statesman on June 15th, 2020, their careful Marty is just the latest example of digital blackface. The recipes may be delicious, their ethics much more questionable. Hey, have you checked out the latest cookbook from Guy Fieri? Well, you shouldn't. Not only does he have questionable cooking skills, according to the Miami Herald on February 21st, 2021, he claimed, you know it's true, Jews are cheap, using the N-word multiple times. And when referenced to gay employees, those people weird me out. The trip to Flavortown has been canceled. Fieri really exemplifies the idea of celebrity culture taking over the restaurant industry, which perpetuates endless cookbooks from white chefs. We saw a shift towards celebrity culture with the launch of the Food Network in 1993. One of their biggest stars is the infamous Paula Deen, author of 15 cookbooks. Their Southern lady just oozed charm with their easygoing style and unapologetic use of butter. She became very apologetic when it came out she's been using the N-word. Wanting to give Paula a second chance, I thought I'd do a side-by-side recipe comparison with hers and a well-known black chef. Okay, let's make carrot cake. Carla Hall, in her recipe, is talking about the different types of cinnamon and how to properly grate carrots. Paula, in her recipe, is forgetting about the carrot cake and made an innuendo about using butter in the bedroom with her hubby. That slippery bitch. I don't want to give you the impression that all white chefs are problematic. Chefs of color can be equally as annoying. When the hell did Chrissy Teigen become this culinary expert? She just adds Jell-O pudding mix to her banana bread recipe, and all of a sudden, everyone thinks she's a rock star. And who had thought we would need a cookbook from Snoop Doggy Dogg or Shaquille O'Neal? Choices, people. Choices. We've come a long way in Asian representation in the kitchen since ancient Chinese secret. But then this one comes along. Meet Ronnie Yu. This cheeky bastard has almost 80,000 followers on Instagram. Is it because of his cookbook recipes or how he looks eating donuts in a Speedo? Maybe the problem is not there's too many white chefs. There's simply too many stupid people following stupid celebrities who are less about cooking than building their own personal brand. So what are some realistic action steps we can all take for a more multicultural dining experience? First, what books do you own in your own kitchen? Is it just a battered copy of Betty Crocker or that small pamphlet that came with the George Foreman grill? Consider the books you do own and how it shapes your perspective on race and food. Second, buy cookbooks from diverse authors like Sunny Anderson, David Chang, and Manit Jahan. You probably make all types of late night purchases anyway, so why not just help out a chef? A third action is to follow these multicultural chefs on social media. Well, the last thing I should be doing is pushing folks to use their phones more. It's a lot better than spending all that time on TikTok or OnlyFans. That leads nicely into our next action step. I'm calling on you all to support this new social media platform called Only Chefs. No amount of pay is ever enough for those long hours in a professional kitchen. How much revenue do those cookbook sales really bring in? These chefs need serious coin, and they will still make your meal without their pants on. Damn, that dish is sizzling. Finally, buy cookbooks of different cuisine types. If we're truly embracing multiculturalism, we're actually stepping outside our comfort zone and trying diverse foods. I'm still not comfortable knowing how many people use OnlyFans, but debaters have a hard time meeting anyone. I'm feeling a little better about these racist cookbooks. There are a lot of great titles for me to choose from. I just have to go seek them out. By first exploring the history of cookbooks, second, examining how celebrity culture worsens a problem, and finally, providing solution steps. A new way forward is opening up, where every single race and gender is invited into the kitchen. And I'll join you right after I finish these Only Chef videos. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Wonderful speech. Next speaker, number 5. Last name Kisser. Aaron?
Modern dress codes have drastically changed since COVID-19 began in March of 2020. We turned our wardrobes into mullets. Respectable on top and naked on the bottom. According to the Society for Human Resource Management poll, 17% said that they wore pajamas within the first 2 years of the pandemic. And the other 83% who said they didn't? Liars. The difference between business casual and business formal has become so hard to define because my business formal is different from your business formal, which is different than Monopoly Man's. And then you have billionaires showing up to the Met Gala in jeans. Overall, modern dress code expectations have become unrealistic and unfair. So today, let's shop for the problems, try on our causes, and flaunt our solutions to these outrageous dress codes. There are many gender-specific and economic issues within modern dress codes today. First, it's gray. Second, it's black. Can I ask for just a little bit of color? The difference between men and women dress codes are drastically different. Men have lower standards, lower expectations, and a lot of slack when it comes to slacks, where women have higher standards, higher expectations, and a lot of high heels. Artists such as Harry Styles and Lil Uzi Vert have begun wearing clothing outside of traditional gender norms, with Styles having to tell The Guardian, "Who cares what I wear?" And he rocked his outfit. Did you know that there was other options besides the suit? I say bring back a kilt in 2023. Why are we paying attention to what these men are wearing rather than paying attention to the music that they are producing? I don't care that Lil Uzi Vert wears a purse, even if it's Gucci. I just want to listen to Bad and Bougie. Modern dress code expectations for women can include anything from requiring heels, makeup, or even different length skirts or dresses. It's already a nightmare for me to wake up in the morning, but to get up even earlier and have to put on makeup? No, thank you. Or how about the poor Viking women out in the Midwest who have to wear different length skirts or dresses in the snow? Not that it matters to them. According to Next Level Wardrobe in 2021, women should not wear something distracting from their speech, such as trousers or loose-fitting clothing that needs adjusting. Unlike men who always have to adjust their jackets right before every speech. Or unless you work in a restaurant like Hooters, we need to be as revealing as possible while giving your speech about the menu, otherwise the tips might just fall flat. Last year, I joined speech and debate for the first time, and I paid a ridiculous amount of money to look this good. Hashtag woke up like this is such a lie. Most people just roll over and call it a day. According to CNBC in April 2022, business professionals say to spend no more than 10% of your take-home pay on business attire, but grocery prices have increased just as much. So do I pay for groceries or business attire? Well, I hope these clothes stay good after this speech. I do like lamb, so maybe wool will taste the same. Overall, modern dress code expectations have many gender-specific and economic issues that make it hard to dress to impress. The causes of these modern dress code expectations stem from the history of fashion and the ever-constant changing of fashion. In the early 1950s, businesses paid more attention to how they looked and how to get the female secretaries out of the men's offices, rather than paying attention to the results or profits of their business. In the 50s, men wore suits where women wore stilettos and stockings. And then in the 80s, we turned everybody into NFL linebackers with ridiculous shoulder pads. In 2013 and 14, there was an Australian news reporter who wore the exact same suit 365 days, and nobody noticed until he decided to point it out. Eventually, the suit was wearing the person. According to Harvard Business Review in 2022, more than 70% of business meetings have gone online, and now no one truly knows. And despite not knowing what you're wearing underneath the camera screen, the work is still getting done. Meanwhile, the other 30% of business meetings are happening in shady boardrooms where they, and I quote, dip their balls in cocaine and rub them all over each other. Thanks, Rick and Morty Season 2, Episode 2 for that fun factoid. Now, we've seen some subtle changes that have happened over the last 70 years, but who knows what's to come next? With the ever-constant changing of fashion, the definitions of business formal and business casual are bound to change yet again. Why should I go out and buy a new suit if it's just going to go out of fashion in a few short years? According to Flex Suits, an average suit with tailoring and altercations costs an average of $600 to $800, or one carton of eggs. In the Disney series She-Hulk, we can see that an attorney, a superhero, the She-Hulk, can't get a good fitting suit on an attorney's salary. So why are we expecting college kids to? Overall, the history of fashion and the ever-constant changing of fashion has led to many misinterpretations of what is accepted as business formal and how to afford this accepted fashion. Now that we understand the problems and where these modern dress code expectations come from, we can talk about solutions. Now, if we were in person, I would be wearing my heels and I'd tell you how awful they are, because they are. But since we're online, I get to wear my really fun Batman pajamas and be nice and casual on the bottom. It's been so relaxing. And then my jacket, I am tired of sweating my cocaine-free balls off. Were you guys worried about more ball jokes? Oh, don't worry, there's only 2. The third was removed. Content neutral judging. Hear me out. According to MD Speech and Debate, allow the speaker as much freedom as possible while giving their speech and judge them on their performance rather than their beliefs. This is a statement that helps speech and debate judges and talks about how we should be judging people based on the knowledge that they are presenting rather than their beliefs about how to dress or how to give this knowledge to us. While content neutral judging may help in our situation, what about the rest of the world? How about give employees some sort of an opinion about what to wear to work? According to the Journal of Accountancy in 2021, the Atlanta office of Wyndham Brandon has introduced Dress for Your Day. Dress for Your Day is where you wear something based off what you're doing for work that day. Working in the office, wear shorts and t-shirt. Working with clients, wear more formal attire. Working from home, wear nothing. This is such a simple solution to such a complex issue. And it's time to break down the formalities of business formal and move to more casual attire. So today, we shopped for our problems, we tried on the causes, and I am flaunting our solutions. So, what will you judge me on? Are you going to judge me on my change in appearance or the words that I have practiced wrote, rewrote, and repracticed several times to impress you, my judges. I urge you, don't pay attention to what other speakers are wearing today. Because if I get one more ballot that says something like, those heels look fairly comfortable, don't blame me when I go all She-Hulk on you.
Okay, great job. Fantastic speech. Speaker number 6, are you ready?
Are you able to see and hear me okay?
Yes, and adjusting your camera me so that I can see your head well too.
Okay,
You're
perfect.
good to go.
Hey, Corey, I have an opportunity for you. You too can become the ultimate boss babe by selling a product that doesn't work and probably no one wants. It's not just about selling them. You'll have an amazing opportunity to be promoted to regional manager just by hosting these amazing networking events. So come invite your friends and family over to buy the product directly from you, even though they've asked you to stop multiple times now. But you know what the real moneymaker is? Ask them to join your team. Convincing your dwindling network to work under you is a piece of cake. Just use every manipulation tactic in the book and you'll get a free trip to Mexico. Before you know it, you'll all be part of the Boss Babe pyramid scheme. I mean, multi-level marketing enterprise. Have you experienced this nightmare before? It is likely for college students as myself, as multi-level marketing companies or MLMs have been increasingly targeting young women to join their ranks. These schemes benefit the relatively few at the top while exploiting the vast majority at the bottom. They use cult-like tactics to recruit and promise financial success with minimal effort. The Federal Trade Commission is starting to crack down on these practices, but much more can be done to stop the hold MLMs have in our country. To better understand the dangers of these schemes, let us first consider how pyramid schemes operate. Second, consider how social media is now amplifying the problem. And finally, provide solutions to ensure young women are no longer drawn into these schemes. Once upon a time, the Egyptians created amazing works of art, like the Great Pyramids. This was done possible with the exploitation of slave labor, because how great do you think it'll be to haul one of those blocks across the desert? It's only fitting that the term pyramid is used to describe how these schemes work. The originator of the plan, let's call him the Pharaoh, promises financial success to some of his earliest investors. That way, more global victims start joining the schemes and the cash starts coming in fast and furious. Who's gonna need it? I hear pharaohs have super extravagant death parties. And this can go on for a while, where the top of the food chain is collecting tons on these so-called investments, while the bottom pile is really excited for their payout. But when there's no one else to recruit, they also take the biggest hit. When you think about it, this isn't so bad. You'll just lose your money, whereas in ancient Egypt, you were buried alive to keep the pharaoh company on his way to the afterlife. Half glass full people. But MLMs aren't technically pyramid schemes. They found a legal loophole. According to Nick Perry in a January 23, 2023 article for Fundura, the multi-level marketing companies or MLM schemes can be defined as a marketing strategy that uses representatives to act as salespeople to sell products or services, or further recruit representatives under them to work for commission. A key thing to consider: that exploitation only works if those new recruits sell. When they're not making any sales and there are the mid-level managers, everyone is at a loss. Sort of like all the attendees at a Nickelback concert. And Nickelback really had a way with words when he said, we just all want to be really big rock stars. But no, we want to climb to the top of the pyramid, which proves to be a little bit more difficult than one might anticipate. You see, the way these schemes operate is you can only go 13 levels deep with recruitment. If each participant has 6 people working under them, 13 iterations does in fact cover the Earth's entire population. But if you come in at level 12, we can all be praying for an alien invasion so you can make some commission. But perhaps the biggest red flag of it all, according to John M. Taylor of the Consumer Awareness Institute, is that 99% of people who join an MLM actually lose money. And I highly doubt this is what they mean to be part of the 1%. Now, I did say my second section was going to be about social media. But I have belonged to a few MLMs already, so I can very well be a big fat liar. Let me first tell you about two companies that are older than the bagels sitting outside a tab room. Avon and Mary Kay. Avon was once seen as heroic, allowing women to make money before they even had the right to vote. It's also an easy startup. At only $30 for a welcome kit, you're on your way to becoming an Avon lady. That's because the kit doesn't include any samples. But don't worry, you'll be selling makeup with an old school method. Brochures. Avon is keeping the print industry alive by charging you every 3 weeks as they update their fonts and colors and not much else. It's an even more disappointing subscription plan than what Netflix currently has to offer. But with Mary Kay, you actually get to buy the products and would host these really great makeup parties, but really, it's just a front to recruit more consultants. Beyond that, you're spending hundreds and thousands on their inventory packages. This is the big leagues now. But more than cosmetics, Mary Kay is showing that ordinary women can have that luxury lifestyle they so craved. If you rise to Grand Achiever, you're giving a pink Cadillac with a 2-year lease. Because why not be glamorous while running over the bottom level of your pyramid? I share these two examples to help illustrate how times are changing. Companies now embrace social media, which just further builds up these pyramids. Friends who know other friends who know other friends has always been a little bit problematic. It's how I've seen Andrew Tate a little too often on my Instagram feed. But let's talk about the real dangers of people buying into these quick get rich schemes. According to the Atlantic on a January 20th, 2021 article, they say the Avon lady can now knock at 100,000 doors at once. It takes mere minutes to go from scrolling on social media to typing in your credit card information and getting started. The MLM mom isn't knocking on your door anymore. She's in your Instagram DMs. But we need to talk about solutions. Young women have far too often been lured into these schemes, and I am here to do something about it. Right after I tell you my success story of being a 7-year-old girl boss. The Girl Scouts aren't technically an MLM, but the troop is seriously going to suffer if the little kids do not step it up. I once sold the best quality cookies, but it wasn't just about the product. It was about the community, the relationships, and the bottom line. I don't mean to brag, but I did beat every other girl in sales. I made my parents buy the rest of my inventory one time just to be clear who's at the top. I was committed. The other girls were not. And I got to go to camp and they were just jealous. The Girl Scouts was the beginning of my entrepreneurial mindset. This highlights my first solution. Watch out for bad operators. Some people are just messy and are prone to trying out an MLM lifestyle. So let's all keep an eye out for those folks before they start hawking vitamins at us. A second solution is to know thy enemy. There are so many MLMs out there, but knowing the largest ones can help you and your loved ones save some time and money. So let's clarify. Amway, bad. Beachbody, bad. Herbalife, bad. And everyone's favorite Instagram hair care brand, Monet, really bad. And it makes you bald. And you might be sitting here thinking like, I'm never going to join an MLM and I don't care about these cosmetic companies. Well, as a consumer, you can still weigh in on ways to stop these predatory practices. The Federal Trade Commission recently asked us to weigh in on a proposed new bill that would create steeper penalties for MLMs that were caught defrauding consumers and members. So log on to www.ftc.gov and rat out the bastards. We'll just later tell them we're spreading the word about their organization. Do you find college expensive? Well, you'll love my fourth and final solution. The FTC pays back consumers who were swindled out of money with an MLM. So if you are impacted or you know someone who will, you can get your money back. Collect what is rightfully yours. Get paid, yo. Hey, girlie. Still really excited about these amazing MLM opportunities? Well, you better get on it because they might not be so popular or even in business much longer. By first looking at how these schemes operate, second, considering how social media is amplifying the problem, and finally, providing solutions to ensure young women are no longer drawn into these schemes, we have perhaps made the world a safer place from these predatory practices, or prevented the next impulse shopper from experiencing premature